Hello and welcome from Budapest. This is Hungary Reports, starting off Public Media M1's foreign language news hour. I'm Arpad Szőci with the latest from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin. Thanks for tuning in. Hungary and Poland will again be the main topics of discussion at the European Parliament this week. That's because the two countries are allegedly not respecting the rule of law. The EU already launched an Article 7 procedure, the EU's so-called atomic bomb against Hungary, which would see the country lose its voting rights, among other things. However, things have stalled somewhat.
The
situation with the Hungarian and Polish rule of law continues to concern socialist MEPs. They are organizing a political debate on Wednesday, initiated by their faction. According to left-wing politicians, even though the Article 7 procedure against Hungary is ongoing, the European Council managing the case should handle it more firmly. It's untenable what's going on in Hungary. Nothing has changed since we voted for the commencement of Article 7. We are expecting the European Commission to clearly and firmly take stand on exactly what goes on in Hungary, the socialist parliamentary leader pointed out. The European Parliament's role is done in Hungary's case. Balázs Hídvégi pointed out at a recent debate. The Fidesz MEP added that many representatives want to expand European Parliament's role in the case. It's contradictory to the EU treaties, but still they are trying to achieve the involvement of Parliament in the procedure, for there to be hearings in Parliament and for the Parliament delegation to be at the Council meetings, which is absurd, the Fidesz representative said. He added, the pro-immigration left-wing consistently wants to keep the matters regarding Hungary or Poland on the agenda because these countries said no to immigration in recent years. The last time was in mid-December of 2019 that EU ministers of European matters held a hearing as a part of the Article 7 procedure against Hungary. After the hearing, Hungary's Minister of Justice, Judit Varga, said that you could see that the Union is trying to intimidate Hungary because the Article 7 procedure regarding the rule of law would have been finished long ago since the Hungarian delegation had given definitive answers to everything.
The Hungarian government says climate change, environmental protection, and energy policy affect all of us and has therefore announced further concrete actions. That's what a government spokesperson said in a video on social media. Last week, the government adopted the National Energy and Climate Protection Strategy. That includes getting rid of illegal landfills and removing plastic refuse from rivers.
This is an important question that affects us all, which is why the government is taking serious steps. Clean rivers, fresh air, a flourishing flora and fauna, in other words, a livable and beautiful Hungary. And like always, instead of mere words, action is needed. Hungary has set definite goals. That's precisely why we initiated the National Afforestation Program last year. It is also why we will decrease carbon dioxide emissions. The government has accepted the National Energy and Climate Protection Strategy, for which concrete measures will also be developed.
And concrete measures have been taken because of the H5N8 bird flu virus detected at a farm in northern Hungary. Because of that, more than 50,000 turkeys will be culled. However, there's no evidence that the virus has spread. But that does mean that starting Wednesday, it will be mandatory for large supermarkets in Hungary to identify the origin of their poultry with flags. Smaller shops can simply do it with signs. That way, you'll know whether the product is domestic or foreign. And this is also an EU directive on how to deal with such problems.
Price tags with small country flags have landed at the meat counter. From Wednesday onwards, stores must mark the origin of their pork products in this manner. Packaged products have been labeled with their country of origin up until this point as well. In addition to the price, most customers choose their products based on this indicator. Customers will likely see such flags from various countries at large supermarkets, as the rule will only be applied to stores spanning more than 200 square meters. Up until this point, the cut of the meat, as well as the price, as per weight, was accounted for on the product label. From now on, in addition to these, the country of origin, as indicated by a flag, will help customers, Attila Fodor said. According to the Vice President of the National Chamber of Agriculture, it is important that customers are aware of where their meat comes from. We wanted to clear up this misunderstanding with this practice, that the Hungarian customer walks by the meat counter thinking that the meat must come from Hungary because it looks fresh. It must be from a butcher nearby. However, oftentimes this is not the case, Tamás Éder said. If this new signaling system is successful, it is indeed conceivable that other products will be labeled in a similar manner, with labels indicating country of origin or with flags serving the same purpose.
The current cold spell in Hungary means many lakes and rivers have frozen. In fact, conditions are good enough in some eastern and northern parts of the country for people to actually skate on the ice. In fact, some even went ice sailing on a section of Lake Tisa, while others did ice fishing. However, it pays to be careful. For example, it's not allowed to go out on the ice in Hungary's Transdanubia region because the ice simply isn't stable enough.
Ice floes on Lake Balaton drift to the shore. On more wind-shielded areas, ice sheets begin to form. At Lake Valenza, a warning sign cautions that it is forbidden and dangerous to go on the ice. At the shore in icy areas, a continuous layer of ice has already formed, but it's still not thick enough to support doing sports. At Lake Naplás in Budapest, many have already tried ice skating on it or gone bike riding on it. According to professionals, it's safe to go on if the ice thickness is at least 10 centimeters. For that to occur, the temperature would need to constantly remain below -10 Celsius for several days in a row. But for now, forecasts definitely show no sign of that happening. Hungary's disaster management warns, avoid sudden movements in case the ice breaks underneath them. If someone, disregarding the warning, still goes on the ice and needs help, he is urged to call 112 emergency number and to lay on the ice or water with most of their body surface if the ice already broke under them. Try to swim out with movements similar to breaststrokes, or if they have a sharp object, they should hold on to the ice with it. Also, if we see someone else who had an accident, help them with a rope, a long tree branch, or with pieces of clothing tied together, but definitely call for help, Híradó said. The lake's region is continuously being patrolled so that accidents won't happen. If someone nevertheless goes on the ice, for example, the person who made this video, he or she can get a fine of around 150 euros, and in case of legal proceedings, the penalty could reach 450 euros.
And back in Budapest, the cold, along with little or no wind, have resulted in more poor air quality. Therefore, a smog alert continues for the Hungarian capital, while people in other regions might also feel the effects. The main culprits aren't gas-powered vehicles or factories. It's illegal combustible materials being used to treat homes. The world's largest analog tape recorder collection is on display in the town of Terény in northern Hungary. The museum there is now home to 500 of the devices from more than 20 countries. They range from the earliest reel-to-reel models from the 1930s to professional studio models from the 1980s. And the great thing is that they all still work. And you can even prove that. And the history of flora artwork is on display at a new collection at the Melius Library in Debrecen in the east of the country. The Botanica Historica shows this artwork through the ages, as art was the only way to record plants and flowers until the onset of photography. The exhibition continues until February the 8th. And that's all for now. But don't forget, you can catch Hungary Reports every night after the news at 11 p.m. and online as always. Please stick around now, if you can, for our new shows in German, Russian, and Chinese. Thanks very much for watching, and viszontlátásra!